How's it going, everyone? Cody Bernardi here with another YouTube video. And in today's video, I want to make another version of your career in cybersecurity. So I'm not selling any courses here. I have nothing to give you guys other than just some life advice as someone that's been working in the field for almost 11 years now. So little context about myself. I run a local DC chapter, which if you're not familiar with what that is a DEF CON group. And basically it's just a public meeting. Anyone interested in cybersecurity can show up and you just hang out. And I'm going to tie that back in later because it's very important to what I'm talking about. But I do run a DEF CON group that's local to me. I obviously have this YouTube channel and Discord server and all of that. So if you're watching this and you're interested in a career in cybersecurity, you're in the right place. If you're even working in cybersecurity, I also have some tips for you. I'm going to be talking about everything from entry level all the way up to senior level. And I don't have anything in here for principal because I'm not there yet personally, but I've been at all of these levels myself. So I'm going to go from new into the field all the way up to senior where I'm currently at. So if you're brand new to cybersecurity and you're just having a rough time trying to get a position, an entry-level position in security, you do have some options. It is going to be unfortunately limited because companies are just strapped for cash, unfortunately, at the moment. And that's just the way it is. But I do have some advice for you. So number one, if you are applying and you're having a rough time even getting a message back, it's probably because your resume is formatted to not pass the ATS. And the ATS is a very important thing. That is just the barrier to entry for pretty much any job applicant tracking system. So basically it scans the resume and it compares it to the job posting. It's looking for keywords. So if an entry-level position is looking for networking, CISC, it's just going to pull out keywords. And if your resume isn't matching up with that, it's going to get rejected more than likely. So it's going to go through ATS before it even hits the hiring manager or HR's desk. So if you're not getting hits, it's probably because of your resume. I'm not sponsored, endorsed, or anything like that, but I have had multiple jobs in my 11 years of experience, and I've always stuck to resume.com. I'll even put a like a template of what I use, and I've been rejected lots of times, but at least I've gotten to that point where it's been rejected. So I'll put a template of what I personally use in the description down below. So that's going to be your like barrier to entry is ATS. Now, after that, I have some other tips for you. So if you're brand spanking new, I tie back to I run DC 253, but DC groups is going to be networking. That is going to be consistent in your career. If anything, your networking with other individuals in the field is going to be paramount. I care what you know, but at the end of the day, it's who you know and not necessarily what you know. Because if you meet certain people, they're going to be in positions where they can make positions happen, aka your positions. I have a few examples. A recent example is we had a person show up to our local DEF CON group, and few of us knew that there were a couple companies hiring for a true entry level, no experience required, like what you think of as true entry level, and we got them connected and hired. So they probably would have never been introduced to that opportunity if they did not show up to a networking event like a DEF CON meetup. Now, I would encourage you to find one in your local area. You'll see things like DEF CON groups, Hacker 2600. I was like, it's a number. So 2600 meetups. I don't think those are as popular as they used to be. And then you have your local B-Sides, which is a conference that is hosted in every major city I can think of. And if a DEF CON group does not exist, feel free to start one. And I could even make a video on how I personally kind of coordinate DEF CON meetups, DEF CON group meetups, and you can mirror that at home. But networking is absolutely going to be the most important thing. And I would even say in person, not even just on Discord. Like the face-to-face human interaction is going to be important. The next one is when I'm interviewing and hiring a candidate, I want to know that they have a genuine interest in security. Now, obviously, we're all working in this field. Number one is going to be money. That's obvious. Everyone works a job because of the money, for the most part. But it's also important that the entry level, the brand new people, have a genuine interest in the field, because that means they're going to absorb a lot of information, and anything that's taught to them will be reciprocated back. So I would say it's good to have a genuine interest. And what I mean by that is, like, I have a 3D printer going on right there. Not saying that that is hackerish at all, but if I wanted to learn like FreeCAD or Autodesk, like, if I'm genuinely interested in it, I'm going to dedicate some time to learn something new because I have an interest in it. So for like cybersecurity, it's like learning Python, like just making simple scripts that can make your life easier. Like a tool that could like scan the internet and then parse the output into like an HTML. I don't know. I'm just spitballing right now, but a genuine interest. The next one up is going to have a monetary barrier to entry. However, it is also important, which is certifications. Now, if you're brand new, honestly, like an A+ certification, like a CompTIA A+, Net+, or Sec+ is going to obviously be a benefit for you. When I'm looking for entry level, I'm not really looking for certifications. That's something that is on the job, I believe, the employer to pay for. But if you've gone out of the way to get those certifications, you know, that's obviously going to be a bonus. And if I find anything like scholarships, like, I'll put as much stuff as I can down below, like maybe even have like a running continuous list that is dynamic and live and all of that. Maybe a GitHub repo, and y'all can make pull requests, and, you know, just resources. Like it's just good to have resources out there. And then last one, what I did is I had a GitHub and I posted all the stupid stuff that I would find interest in, and I put that on display. And I think that's very important, especially for entry level, because it shows your work and it shows your interest in the field. And being able to have that like on your resume, like github.com/ you know, whatever, that's going to stand out from a lot of people. So that is entry level. The big one, if you're going to take anything away from that, is networking with people. Get to know people, be personable, don't be an asshole, and you'll find a lot of luck with that. Trust me on that. So mid-tier. So I would say mid-level in security is going to be about 3-ish years. That's obviously going to be debatable. Some people are going to think it's more or less. I think 3 years in a field, you start to get the ball rolling. You could probably be an advisor for like an entry-level person, but you are kind of like the mid-level. Now, if you're in the same job and you're at, 3 years at that current company, you might be enjoying your work and all that, and that's fine and dandy. However, I found success because I kind of touched on this earlier, as we're working in the field mainly for the money that it pays. Cybersecurity is obviously a lucrative field to be in as far as money goes. So if you're happy where you're at, I would say stay where you're at. There are some techniques you can do to ask for a pay bump or extra stock. You'll have to do some research. There's like websites out there like levels.fyi. That's typically going to be for like the bigger companies like Google, Amazon, Apple, and such. And you can see kind of where you are at versus where other people are at. And you can use that as ammo when it comes time for your annual compensation review. So if you're at that mid-level and you're trying to level up, that is something that you should obviously bring up, so you could get at least at what is deserving, that you deserve. Now, this is where I personally went in a fork in the road. So I was initially at Amazon, and I would say I was at a mid-tier. And unfortunately, I did a little research. Well, fortunately for me, unfortunate for them, I did some research and I was severely underpaid. So I'll tell you, like compensation that I was making. So this was my first cybersecurity job, 2017 up until 2020. And I was making $32.50 an hour. That does, obviously plenty of overtime, but that's what I was making. It was about $60-something thousand a year. With overtime, it crept well into the $100,000 range. Now, unfortunately, at companies like Amazon, Google, Apple, they have a leveling system. And no matter where you are at, you have to climb the ladder. You can't go from like a level 3 to a level 5. You have to go level 3, level 4, level 5, and be at that level for a certain amount of time. And there's also within these levels bands. So there's the lower end of the band and the high end of the band. And you're typically going to be smack dab in the middle on the lower end. So you want to know what those bands are, and they fluctuate, and it's going to fluctuate depending on the kind of area you are in the business. So unfortunately for me, it was really hard to negotiate. Even if like your Forte reviews were good, it was hard to negotiate a higher salary. So this is the tip for mid-level people: leave. That is going to be the fastest way you're going to see your money grow. So to give you perspective, this is called job hopping or boomeranging, whatever you want to call it. So for me, I was at Amazon from 2015 to 2017. Then I switched over to security. I was IT before that. 2017 to 2020, I was making that $32.50 an hour. And then from there, I went to another place, and my initial offer was $110,000 salary with like travel and all of that. That was ripped away from me because of COVID. Went from there to 120 a year, 120 a year to 135 a year. And by the way, this is all in 2020. So I left Amazon March of 2020, went to Recorded Future right after that. Wasn't really fit for the actual specific job I was doing. It was like a post-sales job, and I didn't want to do that. So I left without a backup plan, but that was 110. Got a job at IBM, was not going to move to DC in the middle of the pandemic. That was paying 120, left that, went to Citrix that offered me 135 a year with some stock and all that before they went private. So you could see the power of job hopping. Now, you're at the mid-level, and there really isn't like a job descriptor for like mid-level positions or anything like that. It's just going to be like a senior analyst, or like I wouldn't say it may be a team lead. Like it really depends. You're going to notice that job titles are going to fluctuate job to job, and I'm going to talk about the importance of that. So mid-level, you're practically going to be doing the same job you were doing as an entry level, but you're going to be more, you're going to maybe make some policy, write some documentation, going to experiment with some things a little bit more that you did in entry level. When I was entry level in vulnerability management, I was basically going through run books and doing what the run book said and provide any feedback from run books and doing customer facing stuff. So if like a service team was having an issue with patching, I would do the initial triage. Mid-level, I was the tier 2, and I would say, oh yeah, I have enough experience with this triage. Let's see if there was like any missteps. So senior level. So senior level is currently where I'm at. And I will say this is probably the second biggest thing in your career that you will learn very quickly. So outside of networking, the second most important thing in security is your job title, regardless of pay. So if you were able to, let's say you get this job, it pays, okay, and you can't really, like move around that, that pay, you can't go any higher than what they offered. What you can ask for, and it costs nothing to the company, is a job title increase. Now, obviously that may include some strings as far as responsibilities go, but if you get senior in your name, in your title, that opens up a whole slew of possibilities for you. Just to give you an example, so going back when I said I was making 135 at Citrix, that was a senior level position. Earlier that year, I had an analyst level position. I went from an analyst to a senior security engineer in 1 year. Now, after Citrix, I went back to Amazon and I did this thing called boomeranging as a level 5, was it senior? It was something like that. It was level 5 something security engineer, I forgot. That pay was $180,000 a year with $112,000 or $120,000 sign-on bonus first year, and then like $92,000 the second year. And the stock was like a $300,000 over 4 years, obviously backloaded. You can see the power of just having like senior in your name. in your title. So I would say once you get to that senior level position, you are golden. If you're looking to break from mid to senior, but you're having a rough time, just ask for that senior title, even if the pay doesn't fluctuate. Now, obviously, you want to do your job and all of that, but you want to weaponize that senior level position if you were to bounce around again. So once you get to that senior level position, you're obviously going to have a lot more responsibility, a lot more expected of you, but you should be comfortable where you're at. Because, I mean, if you ask for the title and you don't know what you're doing, you probably don't deserve the titles. If I don't know how to explain it any further, but you should be relatively comfortable, but you should have a lot more sway as far as how things are done. And you're more than likely going to be I would say, for lack of better terms, a consultant or an advisor. That's a better word. An advisor to your manager, your skip level, your director, and then the principal level typically is going to be an advisor to like the CISO. So you're going to have a lot more technical say on how things are done, which obviously comes at a significant responsibility. So obviously, the senior level position, you're not going to be doing a lot of the day-to-day customer facing or, internal IT stuff, internal IT facing stuff like troubleshooting things. You're going to be helping out, developing policy and looking out long-term, like how are we going to take our security program from where it's at to here in the next year, and then kind of help develop a plan on a technical level. Now, one thing that I stress the most is if you want to chase dollars in this field, you absolutely can. It will definitely come out at a cost. So it's important to find a balance, a very happy medium, as far as the amount of inputs you do versus the outputs you get back from your employer. So if you can find that happy medium, I would say hold on to that as long as you can, because, well, I'll give you examples in a bit. So make sure that you have that healthy balance, because if you are absolutely stressing at your job, you're going to be stressing in life, which carries on to the next day, and it just does not help anybody out. And then the last one I have for senior is, this is like the cherry on top. If you were able to get into a position with your full-time job and you're loving it, if the pay isn't completely there, maybe work with the employer you have to see if you could do consulting work. This is absolutely a thing in the field. This is not, what's it called? Overemployment. I wouldn't say it's overemployment. Like you were telling your employer, hey, I want to do stuff outside of work. And if it's not a direct competitor, like if you work at CrowdStrike and then you consult for Tanium outside of work, that's probably not going to fly. But if you're working at like multi-care and you want to do like penetration tests for other places outside of work, it's probably fine. Just want to make sure you disclose that. And I'll get into consulting after all of this. And I brought something up earlier and I totally spaced out. I'll probably rewatch this video and want to talk about that. The balance and all of that. Yeah, that's okay. I'm just going to go right into consulting. So consulting, that's like a whole other thing. This is going to be contract work more than likely. If you want to create your own business to do it, I mean, fine. I personally just go with my buddy's company, Mark 5 Security, which if you need incident response, vulnerability management, or a virtual CISO, hit me up and I'll get you in contact. So consulting is interesting for a couple of reasons. A, you are going to be more than likely facing things that you normally wouldn't see in your day-to-day job. B, it gives you flexibility to see things in the different categories of cybersecurity that you will typically not face. Like I do vulnerability management, but when I consult, it's pen testing. And I don't really I don't pen test. That's not my thing. I don't do pen tests. So it allows you to do stuff, hang out with people, shadow, and then it teaches you things like soft skills, like interacting with people that you don't know, which is like let me tell you that soft skills in cybersecurity, like that is, if you got those, and I'll tell you those too. Let me write that down so I don't forget. Soft skills. That's very important. Everyone should have some soft skills. Skills, not kills. And the best part of consulting is the money involved with that. So that's going to be a little bit different than everything else in your normal 1099 job? I don't know. Yeah, 1099 employment job. So consulting is going to be a lot more money paid to you. So the way it works out for me is I get contracted to do work. It is a $250 an hour, bucketized in 40-hour increments. And I believe there is a retainer fee. And basically the way that works out is that $250 an hour is the overall pay. So let's say I work 1 hour. That $250 gets paid to the company. The company takes, I believe, 10 or 20% off the top. Anyone that referred that client to the company gets 10%, and the rest is paid out to the consultants. Now, let's say that company wants to hire 10 people and they pay for 40 hours. Each person still gets that $250 an hour or whatever it is, but they can only get everyone to work 4 hours because it's personnel hours, not individual hours. So it's not like if 10 people are working an hour that 250 or whatever gets divided by 10. That's not how that works. Everyone gets their fair share. And obviously that's very lucrative because that's a lot of money. And if you can sustain that, you'll be doing pretty good. So if you're able to consult while having a full-time job, you're going to be gravy. Like, that is the gravy train you want to ride for as long as you can. Now, that all ties back to something that every single one of you can take home, and that is soft skills. These are skills that you cannot be taught, and that is just, well, I guess you could be taught them or at least told about them. Let me Google soft skills. Soft skills. Soft skills. Let's look at these images. Soft skills examples: public speaking, negotiation, conflict resolution, friendliness, empathetic, decision making, adaptability, team building, reliability, delegation, rapport building, creativity, innovation, all that. So those aren't going to be like, how do I nmap the entire internet and all that, or how do I take down a global IT network with this one little update? That's not a soft skill. That is a hard skill. Now, it's very important, and I tell everyone this, is if you are not an asshole and if you are nice to people and you kind of hold back your snarkiness and you engage in meaningful conversations, that's going to take you a long way. Now, another thing that's very important is being able to convey technical problems in a non-technical way, because the individuals that you're trying to buy persuasion from more than likely are not going to be as technical as you. They are going to be business people, and you need to speak in business speak. And the way I do that, and when I say business people, I'm talking about CISOs. I'm going to put on my controversial hat on right now. CISOs do not, and I wouldn't say should not, but they are not supposed to be technical people. CISOs are business leaders. They hire people that are technical to advise them on what's happening in the company, and then they translate that into business needs. Think about it. Any security team that is in a business that is not producing a security product or offering security services is going to be a cost center, which means is that it costs money to run security. It does not generate profit. Now, you could say, well, Cody prevents things. I get that. That's the way we think, but they don't think that. They look at the bottom line and they're like, security costs this much. So you are going to unfortunately have to justify to some people why you exist. So it is important that you speak in business speak. So let's say you're trying to procure a scanner. You want to scan the entire network of your business. Well, they're going to say, well, it costs us $250,000 a year from Tenable and X amount in licenses per, device or whatever. They're going to look at that in the bottom line. What you could come back and say is, we need this because of this reason, and you could give examples. And I actually built a calculator for Mark V security, which basically takes in the costs of a security breach. That is something that they will take and say, this is like almost like an insurance policy. So if you get breached, you're paying for lawyers, you're paying for incident response, you're paying for PR crisis management, brand reputation. Like, there's so much at stake if you do not do this. And let me tell you, being able to persuade individuals in that manner, you're going to get a long way. So the soft skills, I don't have any recommendations as far as like books or anything. If I do, I'll put it down below. I think it's important for everyone to read. So yeah, that's all of the advice as someone that's been working in cybersecurity since 2017, but has been working in IT since 2013. So anyways, that is it for this video. If y'all enjoy content like this, please hit the thumbs up button, hit the subscribe button with the bell notification enabled so you can get notified anytime I post a new video. So cybersecurity career, check. I got, time is running out. I got 2 books right here that I still need to fully read. I have Deep Dive by Ray Baker, phenomenal individual, and OSINT Techniques by Michael Bazell. I think that's the 7th version I have right there. So I'm going to review that, pick some things out in that I really like. But I would encourage everyone to get these 2 books. If you are interested, obviously I'm like bouncing between OSINT and cybersecurity, but if you're looking for just 2 books relating to OSINT, I'll put these down below. And I would say go ahead and get those. And let's see, I got other videos in the works. I will just have to get time. So the OSINT deep dive, got that. I have a video called Improving Your Shodan Searches. Whoa, there's different ways you could search on Shodan. Top OSINT browser add-ons. That's another tool video that I'm probably going to dread making. TikTok OSINT. Lovely. Excited to get back on that psyop of an app. So yeah, that is it for this video. Oh, I start the firefighting academy tomorrow, so that's good for me. Unfortunate for you because I will be very busy with that. So anyways, that is it for this video. Y'all take care. Goodbye.
Are we really interested in the same thing? I wonder. Love? That's right.